caught it in time. I absolutely caught it like right in the nick of time. Morning, y'all. Bam. How good is it to see LAFC's back to their regular programming? It was Colorado. Bam. Come on now. By the way, do what I did not do last week and make sure you fix your fantasy rosters appropriately. Didn't fix my fantasy roster until the bitter end, lost by 3 points. I'm going to be fighting relegation all frickin' season long. LAFC won last night 4-0. Bogish, Vela, Hollingshead, and Oliveira scoring. Colorado is chasing the wooden spoon. Understandably so. But we got other stuff to talk about this morning. Some guy named Messi did stuff. We'll get into that. We've got stuff about Reggie Cannon. We've got stuff about Spain, Canada soccer, no Mexico. Yes, it's always good to see new guys score. Leagues Cup, once again, Don Garber says no to Mexico. We'll get into that. Front Office Sports has news about the Women's World Cup in 27. Niko Moreno joining us at 10:30, as he always does, for the Pacific perspective, and we'll get his thoughts on Atlanta United and Seattle from the weekend, what it means to Seattle going forward, and the matchups coming up in this weekend. And know full well that the teams that we're playing here in the midweek, they're going to probably look a lot different come the weekend. And it will be very, very interesting to see what the lineup looks like. What the lineup looks like, especially for the Herons as they go to Red Bull Arena. Red Bull Arena, I'm fairly certain was going to have every seat sold. But just how many of the players that played last night and played a lot of minutes are going to play how many minutes on the weekend? Miami won 5-4 in PKs, by the way. And let's see. Stats. I guess this is qualifying for opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee. There's your QR code for those of you who are watching on social media, not just Twitch, but on Twitter and on our Facebook page as well. And our friends at Kickoff Coffee, don't forget to use the code SoccerDownHere15 to get 15% off of your purchase. They, in turn, take 10%, reinvest it into the youth game, youth initiatives. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Last night, the game went for a while, and I know that if you are a fan of Atlanta United, you're probably looking at Cincinnati and going, play all the minutes. 120. You got a match this weekend. And in a week's time, you're playing Atlanta United on the road. 58% possession to 42. Shots in the match, 22 for Cincinnati, 11 for Miami. Shots on target, 9-6. 5 blocks to 1. 751 total passes for Miami in 120 minutes. And a completion rate of 87%, north of that. 15 crosses to 9 for Inter Miami, 6 corners to 2 for Cincy. Cincy won 3 more duels on the night of 105. 16 one tackles last night by Cincinnati defensively. 6 saves by Drake Callender. That should not come across as any kind of a surprise. Alec Can got some work last night. Absolutely. Yes, and Tom, we will get into insanity reigning. We're building here. Callender, 6 saves, 3 for Alec Can, 27 clearances, by the way, for Cincinnati last night, compared to 11 for Inter Messi CF. 22 fouls to 18. Joseph Dickerson, once again, found moments to be Joseph Dickerson, most of them late. 5 yellow cards to 4, so 9 yellow cards in the match last night. 9 yellow cards. 9 yellow cards. But what do? You know, you got a 2-0 lead. 2-0 lead, most dangerous lead in soccer. You wag your finger in the air, sit there and go, that's a cliche. It is a cliche. You're up 2-0. And Brandon Vasquez is one of the ones that score for you. Then you think it's going to be 3, but then VAR says that a Yuya Kubo handball in the box disallows goal number 3. Still 2-1 with 15 minutes to go. Like I said, I have my notes here from last night as I was watching the match. And then it's like still 2-1, 74th. Joe Dickerson. Yeah. Every single time. Morning, Alex. So we get to this point where we are 2-1, 8 minutes of added time, and I know that there's a writer's strike. I know that there is a writer's strike. I know there is. Tom was mentioning conspiracy theorists, black helicopters, you name it. With about a minute to go, writer's strike and all. This was the script that was submitted to our friends at the Golasso Network and U.S. Soccer. Dre Cordero and Ray Hudson on the call. And as always, Ray Hudson, incredibly modest, demure call with a minute to go.
He started quickly for Lionel Messi. Nothing short of a Messi miracle. Seemingly able to save it. He might find it! He does! Rinse and repeat! There's that combination again! The madness of Messi arrives! Astonishing pass! He doesn't pull passes or rabbits out of his magic hat. He pulls kangaroos to sink his flaming spear into the hearts of the flying Garys. A wonderful finish from Campana. But again, Lionel Messi drops that pint of beer into the shot glass at the other end of the bar in a different village. Astonishing in his accuracy. Campana cool and smooth as a Zamboni with the finish. But look at this pass, people. He bends right to find him. He takes everything into consideration, including the planets around the sun. Messi, where the impossible becomes the easy, where the magical becomes the predictable, pulls it out of the fire. 2-2.
Yeah. Where the impossible becomes what is written on the script. It was, in fact, messianic. Hutch, that hurt, man. Yeah, so you get that. And the video's out there. That's thanks once again to our friends at the Golasso Network, Paramount Plus, and U.S. Soccer. The video's out there for those of you that didn't watch the match. They've YouTubed the ever-living daylights out of it, as they should. But the pass from Lionel Messi to Leo Campana was ridiculous. But once again, we expect that from Lionel Messi. Absolutely filthy, nasty, ridiculous. Considering the timing, how much time is left on Joe Dickerson's watch, allegedly. Like I said, clock on the wall was saying there's about a minute to go. And so you get that moment again. Like I said, I know there's a writer's strike, but they keep churning out this script. And I know a lot of people were sitting there wondering with a 2-0 lead for Cincinnati, man, you know, the Golasso Network, they're trying to get a name. They're trying to get programming. Yeah, we'll dive into Open Cup and get the semi and the final. Then you're thinking to yourself at 2-0, man, those streaming numbers for that final, they're not going to be all that great with Cincinnati in the winner of Houston and RSL. But then you get that moment. Then 3 minutes into extra time, Joseph scores. And you're thinking, okay, that's an awful pass, by the way. I mean, Alec Can sends a pass, and it's instantly intercepted, and it's like bang, 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 and then Joseph scores. Then it's, okay, so it's 3-2. And now everybody's back to the whole thing thinking, all right, so this is what we expected. We expected Messi and friends to sit there and get the lead. They're going to coast. Everything's going to be fine. Then Yuya Kubo scores. Yuya Kubo, by the way, and you can ask Jarrett this. When Jarrett pops back in out of the real world, we will ask Jarrett about Yuya Kubo, a wasted talent in Cincinnati from all of the Ishii years that they had to start. Yuya Kubo is underrated as you know what, and could serve a lot of folks a lot of good around the league. But the years that FC Cincinnati was pure-ish, Yuya Kubo was wasted. Kubo scores in the 114th, so we go to PKs. And then, of course, PKs being what PKs are, you're waiting for that moment when somebody flinches, and it ends up being Nick Hagglund. And it looked like Hagglund, when he planted his left foot just to the left of the penalty spot, looked like he took a big chunk of turf out and didn't hit the ball the way that he wanted. Callender comes up with the save. Kromoski comes in in the fifth frame to lock it down, and Messi and friends make their way to the final. They will host on September 27, and it looks like it's going to be at Hard Rock. 65,000 capacity for soccer. And they're going to play Houston. Houston. That is unexpected. Morning forecard. And it's Houston. Ben Olsen, in his first year at Hell in a Shell, that's what they were calling it. I can't lie claim to it. Hell in a Shell. Ache at 45 plus 5. Goes to 1-1. Anderson Julio scores in the 64th. Tied at 1. Kadaskia scores in the 105th to make it 2-1. Salt Lake gets a red at 119, and then Caicedo scores at 120 plus 5 to make it 3-1. Ben Olsen, in year one with the Dynamo, get to travel to Hard Rock on September 27th in front of 65,000 of their friends and family, probably 64,750, rooting for Messi and friends. But your Open Cup final, Houston, not anticipated, hell of a run by Ben Olsen in his first year there. We need to get Glenn Davis on the show. That reminds me. Then you're going up against Messi and friends. That's what your Open Cup final's all about. But I know I needed to look up minutes last night. What do you think Pat Noonan's thinking right now? He pulls his top 3 guns over time, and he is completely and totally hamstrung. He had a 2-0 lead and then gradually pulls out Brandon Vasquez, and he pulls out Luciano Costa over time. Eventually, and your subs, Kubo comes in after the 62nd minute for Bupenza, punched in 8, understandably so. Sergio Santos came in with 10 to go for Vasquez. Barreal is pulled in the 106th for Brett Halsey, and Brett Halsey got put in a spin cycle on that one move in the low right-hand corner. Welcome to Major League Soccer and Lionel Messi, Brett Halsey. So going into the extra 30 minutes, you didn't have Acosta when you subbed for Raymond Gaddis, and you didn't have Brandon Vasquez. So your 2 top subs gone. Your 2 top players gone for subs for the extra 30 minutes in PKs. And then Barreal leaves after the first 15 minutes. This will be a game where Pat Noonan will have learned from his mistakes. He will never do that again. Never, 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 never do that again. Will he, Jarrett Smith?
Who did what?
Pat Noonan will never, ever, 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 ever again be in a situation where you're going to pull your top two scorers thinking you got you're safe at 2-0 or 2-1. In any situation like this, your leading scorers and your leading dudes will be out there for the full 90, the full 120, or however the hell many minutes you're going to play from this moment forward. Don't pull your top two guns if you're Pat Noonan, and he did that. Didn't have them for 30, didn't have them for PKs.
It's very funny that look, we know that I think we're pretty much all comfortable in the fact that Miami is going to be a problem just because of the talent, especially the top end talent. That's okay. It's fine. It is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny that even when they get like up against it, they're still dancing out of the fire over and over again. And it just has some Jesse Pinkman. He can't keep getting away with it energy about it.
And they still do.
And they still do. And my favorite part of this now is all the attention turns to Ben Olsen and Houston to be the ones to keep Miami from getting a double. The worst team in the league this year.
Yeah.
And they made they brought in the GOAT, and all of a sudden they've got a double, like sitting on a double now.
Yeah.
They already have one trophy. The interesting part is now, if I'm not mistaken, RSL has an automatic spot in Champions Cup because Miami has already locked up theirs.
That is
So
true.
I think or not RSL, but Houston. So now it shifts to Houston getting a spot in Champions Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Because as much fun as it is to talk about Miami, and look, that game was weird last night, but we don't talk enough. Something I'd love to, something we can bring up with Niko as well. I don't know if nationally we've talked enough about the work that Ben Olsen has done in Houston.
No,
like Ben Olsen. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it reminds me that we got to have Glenn Davis on the show.
Yeah, like Ben Olsen rolled into Houston after a significant amount of time in DC, where he was, by many accounts, very well respected for his work. And like DC was a really tough place to win, man.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been consistently that way in really since MLS 2.0, 3.0.
Yeah.
You just don't roll into DC and rack up wins consistently. He left DC, and I think it was the right time when he left DC. I think it was one of those things where you appreciate what he had done, but it was time. And he goes to Houston because Houston's gone through managers left and right and center, just constantly just cycling through guys. Kind of in that death spiral we talked about that you don't want your club to be in.
Right.
You don't want your club to be just cycling through, constantly cycling through coaches left and right. There's just no consistency. Well, bring in Ben Olsen, and now look at that. They're in a cup final. They've got a spot in Champions Cup. And he's done really stable work in a place that we've always kind of talked about as being a man. If they get this right in Houston, they could be a problem.
Yeah.
But I don't think we've given Ben Olsen enough credit for the work he has done in getting that place stable.
No doubt. And the other, before you came on, I was mentioning Cincinnati as a group, and I figured I would hold the Yuya Kubo discussion for you when you came in, because Kubo was brought in early in FC Cincinnati's tenure when they were true ish on a platter. And Kubo, for me, and I think this is something that is fairly universal, Kubo, if you look at his body of work, one of the more underrated players that has had some time completely and totally just wasted because of those ish years at FC Cincinnati.
Yeah, man. I mean, and Cincinnati's good now, despite spitting the bit last night.
Has had some time completely and totally. Yeah.
But Yeah, man. Like Kubo is one of those guys. Even in the first year, I was like, I'll take him. I think he was on a DP deal at first, and then he
Yeah.
flipped down to a TAM deal. He
Mm-hmm.
was unprotected in the expansion draft last year or the year before, and he would have been one I would have taken if I could have gotten him on a TAM deal, especially as an expansion team
Yeah.
with all of that additional GAM and TAM that you have. He is absolutely one I would have grabbed. I love his game. Very physical, very athletic, good finisher. Is capable of pulling out some absurd shots. Yeah, man. Good. I'm happy for you, Yuya Kubo. But Cincinnati still spit the bit last night,
That is true. They
taking on the
absolutely did.
skyline chili.
That, yeah, it's never good. Nick, it's never when you choke on your chip.
I've been told no, that's not a good thing. I've been told that is less than ideal when that happens.
Can we take Skyline Chili to Italy and just see what the hell happens?
No, we can't. That would be considered a terrorist act. We would be detained indefinitely. It would not be too advantageous for our health and safety to do that.
Counterpoint: I've yet to visit a town in Italy that I did not enjoy and would not mind being kept in for an extended period of time.
Also true. Like the justice system in Italy is very forgiving. So like you can get charged with a very serious crime, appeal, and they'll be like, okay, all right.
Does that include bringing in Skyline Chili?
That does not include bringing in Skyline Chili. They'd be like, no, you have committed a crime against humanity. And as a result, you are going to be locked away for a very long time.
What Nick is describing is more of financial or political crimes.
Yes.
But isn't I would think that bringing Skyline Chili into Italian airspace, that would be a financial.
No, that's like bringing explosives, sneaking explosives onto the airplane, man. You can't do that. You can't bring that level of contraband on an aircraft in Italian airspace. Europe alone would not allow that. Europe alone would be like, you must land the plane immediately. You are in the European airspace with a terrible thing, a crime. You are going to prison for a long time. You would never see the light of day again. You'd be locked away. It'd be like the Spanish Inquisition if you brought Skyline Chili into Europe.
Because no one expects the Spanish Inquisition.
No one.
We'll go ahead and talk about the Tom Russo question for you, Nick, since you have made a Nick sighting. Tom wants to know how you feeling about Pulisic.
I didn't want him in Milan. I still don't want him in Milan, just based upon what we had to give up to get him. I'm glad he's doing well. I mean, if I have to have this situation, then I would prefer for it to be beneficial for Milan. I still think it's stupid we had to give up Tonali for this, but we shall see if it continues. But so far, a good start for him. I'm not. I get stick for this from some of my other friends who are like diehard men's national team fans, acronym fans, the fighting acronyms.
Yes.
I am not a U.S. men's national team fan. I am not a Pulisic stan, and half the battle is dealing with the Pulisic stans, and I don't want to deal with all of these brand new, out of the gate, diehard Milan fans only because one guy's there. That to me is a pain. Absolutely, yeah.
Turning into the Republic of Pulisic stan, is that what you're trying to avoid?
Well, yeah, that's what's happening. You have people like Weeby, who's like, oh yeah, it's so great to see Americans play ever in Milan. Yeah, it's like, brother, you have not watched 1 minute of Serie A before this. Like, just no, you're not going to be the expert here. Just stop. So that's the big. Pulisic's a fine player. Fine player.
Fine.
If he could stay healthy, fine player.
Fine.
But, and I detest Cardinal. I detest Furlani and Moncada. I will also say, because I don't believe I'm the no hot take tribal chief, I will say that post Ruben Loftus-Cheek and Pulisic, I approve of all the signings they brought in after. So I have to be objective here, and I will say that yes, after Pulisic, after Ruben Loftus-Cheek, all the signings I approve of, because we as a fan base, the Milan fan base, were promised that the players that were going to be brought in were players that could be moved later for money. You're not moving a 27-year-old Ruben Loftus-Cheek for money. You're not moving Christian Pulisic for money. His next move will be an expiring contract, probably to MLS as a DP. Great. Milan sees not one dime of that. So I'm not looking short term here. Like, so, and people have asked, like, well, what happens if Milan wins the Scudetto? Great. That doesn't help us economically long term. So we're in the same boat as we were, because we still would qualify for Champions League, and with the money that comes with that. But are we going to beat a quarterfinal appearance in the Champions League? Okay, then we'll talk. Are we winning Scudetto and achieving the a finals appearance in the Champions League? I don't know. But yeah, Ricky, that's exactly what happened. We and the rest of them watched Venezia, and they were all like, yeah, this is great. So no.
Nick,
Sorry.
remind me how it's gone for Venezia over the last 2 years.
Not well. They tried playing money ball. They played discount money ball. And they played discount money ball.
Dollar zone money ball.
Well, yeah, but it's the same crap as always. Like, they need the Pinzo is smaller than most. It's smaller than most like high school stadiums here in the Metro Atlanta area. The Pinzo is tiny. And so economically, you have to make yourself a brand to be profitable. You can't bank on butts and seats to get anywhere. So you have to sell players, and you have to sell clothing items, which they've done a fantastic job of. But they were talking about trying to build a stadium over by Marco Polo International Airport. That never materialized. Shocker. So they're wondering, like, oh, well, how do we move up to the next level? You got to build an airport by Marco Polo International Airport. I mean, it's what you got to do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man.
Venezia did win their first match, by the way, in Serie B over Como, 3-0.
Well, good, but Serie B is a knife fight with rocks.
And you got to do that every week. And Como, by the way, apparently they're trying to peddle a sweepstakes where you can go and sample Como on a game, on a match day thing. They're
Act like I didn't apply for that. The minute they dropped that, I applied for it.
I did too.
I was like, yep.
Absolutely.
Well, here's the thing. Do you know what they say about knife fights? That if you get in a knife fight, you have two options. You can either die on the street, or you can die in the hospital if you get in a knife fight with somebody. Those are your options. Serie B.
Yep.
Die in the hospital.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Emilio, in discussing Messi and friends, says, without financial changes by the league, Messi and friends will destroy the league.
I'll say this. This is different than like Roy Keane or any of the other guys that came over, the quote unquote older DPs.
Oh, Robbie Keane.
Robbie Keane. Yeah, sorry. Robbie Keane. The man won a World Cup in November, right? I mean, the only reason he's here is Barcelona is broke, and his Argentina beat France, and so the French ultras went ballistic on him, like post World Cup. So Antonella's not moving to Saudi Arabia. She's not having that mess. She wants to shop at Publix and get a pub sub, right? So dreams come true. But what you're seeing is like a unicorn situation. Miami has looked beatable at times, but Miami can do it for 90 minutes. And all these pressing teams like Dallas and Cincy,
Red Bulls,
Red Bulls, they can only do it for like 60 minutes in a match, man. That's it. And then after that, they kind of bunker down, and that's when the hilarity begins. But I will say that the changes are coming. I mean, it has to. Because I guarantee you, the Arthur Blanks of the world, the LAFC ownership conglomerate, they're all calling up Don like,
bruh.
Yeah. So when exactly can we jump into this party? Because we got dudes on speed dial right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to happen. But yeah, Messi and friends for the next 2 years are going to wreck the league. It's just buckle up and enjoy the show.
And, Jared, you got to add a fourth DP. You got to have a cap that's got a floor and a ceiling. There are things that you've got to do, at least in the short term, especially when you decided that your salary ceiling was going to be accelerated to your 2027 numbers. That's $7 million.
I mean, yeah, you're going to have to expand it out, but also you need the teams that are actually throwing punches right now to actually finish the fight. Dallas did not do that.
No.
Cincinnati last night did not do that.
No, they did not.
Like I said, there's a certain level of they can't keep getting away with this because teams keep spitting the bit against them. And you're just kind of waiting for that to end. Now, next year's where it gets interesting because if you give Miami another offseason to improve, to bring in competent defensive work, because go look at the second goal they gave up, the goal to Brandon Vasquez, is comical. Nobody defended.
Well, and so Krivtsov got beat repeatedly last night.
It was bad.
Yeah.
Correct.
You mentioned Brandon Vasquez and things get lit up. So, all right. So then, Nick, let me start with you. Hutch has a question. So what do the Five Stripes learn from Cincinnati and Nashville and what they've done with the Borg in these last two matches?
I would say that you press Miami early, and then you run a mid block. In my opinion, you can't do a low block in front of your goal because it's a matter of time before Joseph or Cremonesi or somebody else throws himself to the ground and puts Messi in prime position for one of his 98% chance free kick Golasso world destroyers. But you come out, you press them right away because as formidable as the attacking side of Miami is, their back line is a disaster outside of Calendar in the net. So you press them early, you finish the chances, you run a mid block, and then you make them try to beat you on speed for the second half and make them try to pick you apart. And they will have chances. It's going to happen. It's going to, but you have to draw your line at the halfway point. You cannot put them near the 18. You just can't.
I mean, Jarrett, we saw with Cincinnati where they had three guys on the ball, instantaneous collapsing on whoever was in possession. The second that ball crossed over the center line, and very short passing availabilities were there for Miami. Cincinnati had it done defensively in the middle third, but once again, to Nick's point, you got to do it for the full 90, and they didn't do it.
You also have Santos, who has a chance to put the game away at 3-0 and doesn't do it for Cincinnati. Again, we talked about Cincinnati for the most part took advantage of their opportunities, but consistently teams have not been doing that against Miami, and Santos had that chance. He also had a chance in extra time to do that and didn't. And Kubo saved you, at least got you penalties. But yeah, man, it's been just inefficiency from other teams against Miami, and you can't have that when Messi's on the field. Now, we talked about you press them. You hit them. This isn't, you're not going to be a 6-year-old. You're not going to just start hitting people for taking your blocks, that kind of thing. But you're putting a body on a body. You get in there a quarter second late. It's like that difference between playing to the whistle and playing through the whistle. You're getting in hits here and there. You're making the game physical. Now, you do it to someone other than Messi because you don't want to make Messi mad because then Messi drops 4 goals on you, because getting him mad is sort of like activating a Terminator. But lay into you lay into somebody else. You bring the physicality to the game. You break it up a bit. But yeah, you got to figure out this because it seems like Nashville had a good philosophy going into that game. And they did what I wondered if they would do, is what they did to Atlanta, which is when Atlanta went to Nashville. Nashville came out, and a team that traditionally sits, they brought pressure, and they picked their spots. It's not constant, but they picked their spots when to bring.
Jared got abducted by the Terminator.
He did. No doubt. And Hutch admits Greg Palanker's doing a yeoman's job for him. If not for him, you've got that. You've got Tom Russo mentioning adding a fourth and significantly increasing the cap. All right, so Nick, I'll ask you. You add a fourth DP, significantly increase the cap. What are Atlanta's priorities? Tom says a DP center back, a DP 6, and a keeper.
I will say that it needs to be in my opinion, a DP center back. That's at 1. So the way that you're looking at, if there is a talent explosion with the fourth DP, right, and it's more than likely going to be attackers that these guys are going to bring in. You need to have something to counter that, because you have Yorgos for the time being, if reports are to believe, and Europe is coming after him again. But I think Atlanta has a pretty good handle on the attacking side of the ball. You need a stud center back who can really lock down that back line and keep some of the silly mistakes from happening. This happened with positioning and timing. So that's my 2 things.
Jarrett, what about you if the robots haven't gotten you?
Yeah, the robots have been trying, man. Depends on what you do with Miles. Depends on where he goes. And do you go with bringing him back? Do you bring in somebody who is, a bit of a higher profile, maybe costs a little bit more? It feels like goalkeeper's something you've got a pretty good handle on after Brad. I don't know what Brad's plan is, though, because Brad is getting older. I don't know how many more years he wants to do this, and with the service that he's done to the club in the second half of 2017, what's the game plan with him? How long does he want to keep doing this for? Because I don't think you throw him out because of the service he's done with the club. You let him leave on his terms. But do you look at getting someone? There were the reports last year that they were looking at Josh Cohen, who had played in USL and was playing over in Israel and was doing very well for himself. There are also reports that New England was looking at him as well. And New England lately has been New England's been grabbing goalkeepers the same way the Falcons grab field goal kickers, inexplicably good at it.
Yeah, you need to, and you would think that hopefully somebody like Justin Garces is continuing to develop. I mean, you've got folks that are there that have been in the Atlanta United pipeline, and I know that you're also looking for someone with experience also. So I know that that the pipeline is there with younger talent, but you probably do need unless somebody catches absolute fire, you do need that older bridge keeper, for lack of a better phrase, that experienced guy, the one that can be that number 1 while you continue to develop the players within the system, Atlanta United too, and such. So that's also what you're staring at here. Tom says that what cracks me up about all the scripted people is that and meaning what happened last night with Messi and friends, about all the scripted people, is that they think what? All the players in front office on all the teams are just going along with this.
Look, WWE is scripted, right? It's still enjoyable.
Yes.
It's still enjoyable. I will say this. If you honestly believe, you sit back in your quiet moments at your home, wherever you may be globally, and if you really think that Cincinnati is looking over to the sideline after being up on Miami, and somebody does a wink and a nod, and then or issues a code word, and then that's your cue to sell all the offense that's being brought to you, I would like you to please take pictures of the mountains of cocaine in your living room and send them to us, because that's pretty much what's happening here. Either you are ingesting mountains of cocaine or household chemicals, and it's not doing your health any good. No one is selling or taking a dive for Inter Miami. No one. Everyone wants to be the team that stops the Messi monster. What's happening is, just like as we said a moment ago, no one can do it for 90 minutes.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that we see, like whenever we go back to the 2010 Confederations Cup and the U.S. was beating Brazil 2-0. How were they doing it? They were boat racing Brazil. And then they got tired. And Brazil said, okay, our turn. And then they skilled their way to a win, right? It's the same thing here, is that look at the teams that have had success against Inter Miami, right? Dallas is the prime example for me.
Yeah.
Where they came out and just went to war with Inter Miami. They ran out of juice. They ran out of steam, couldn't get it done. Look at Cincinnati. Cincinnati, the same thing. Cincinnati went to war with Inter Miami, ran out of steam, right? You can try to physical your way through games. It will only get you so far. When the legs get tired, skill takes over. And you learn this in jiu-jitsu as well. Like all these people who are going 110 miles an hour, that's fine. When you tire out, it's going to be that much easier to choke you, right? I just got to survive the initial hyper-physical onslaught for my skill to take over. And Miami is built perfectly to weather they can survive as long as you are within we haven't seen really what the limit is, but 2 goals down, 3 goals down,
right,
they can come back and win. They can skill you when you get tired. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No one's selling here. No one's selling. It's absurd to think that that's happening. You're drinking liquid Drano recreationally if you think that's happening. The man's just good.
Yes.
So the problem is we have to be careful when we do this, because it's very fun and easy to make the jokes of, good God, the script writers are getting lazy.
Yeah.
And we don't mean it seriously. Your tongue is firmly planted in your cheek when you say it, but you have to be careful when you say it, who you say it to, because people will just run with it.
Mm-hmm. What?
Yeah.
Conspiracy theories? People will run with those?
Well, it's that's, and it is. I think it's where we are as a society now, is that we have so much, just the zone is flooded with poop, and so it's kind of like if you find anything that looks remotely useful, you're like, ooh, okay, run with that. But with people keep saying Messi, 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 but you've got like 2 other guys on that team that played with him at Barcelona that are really, really good as well.
Drake Calhoun has been on a heater.
I mean, yeah, and then
Drake Calhoun's been on a heater for over a year at this point. I don't think it's a heater so much. Drake Calhoun's legitimately good at his job.
Yeah. Right, and not just that, but how many young DPs do they have? The U22 DPs, right?
Yeah, they just added another. They just added another one. Yeah.
Right. This squad is stacked with 3 U22s. Jason Nix chimed in. Okay, those are very skilled players. It's not like they pulled some kid from William and Mary and from George Mason and another one from Presbyterian College, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, they went and found exceptional talent. That's how they're doing this, and they can do it for 90 minutes. So, the only thing WWE about MLS is the league rules. Like that's where it's like, all right, yes, Miami's under sanctions.
Come out and scream, hold up, player.
That's it. Yeah.
And every time there's a rule change.
That's exactly. Yeah. It's like, no one can stop me in a straight up fight. Hold up, player. You've got to go 1-on-1 with the Undertaker. And they're like, oh, it's like, here comes Messi down the ramp. It's, to me, that's the only thing that is the issue that MLS is going to have going forward, and which is why we need the floor.
Mm-hmm.
Because Atlanta is 100% like, let's go wide open, no problems. You see LAFC, yep, no problems, wide open. Galaxy are now like, okay, well, we've got to go wide open to play catch up with our crosstown neighbors.
When they're allowed back in to play the reindeer games because they're under sanctions. Yeah.
Yes, when they're allowed to come back in and play the reindeer games. Yes. NYCFC, when they get a full size stadium built, which is on the Italian program apparently, there are other teams around the league that are ready to go, and then you have these other teams that are like, well, we're just gonna build our way and it's okay. And no, it's not. Either you get on board for the big win and start investing right now, or get your ass down to USL and play in their pool. And there's nothing wrong with USL. It's competitive as hell. It's a lot of fun. But if you can't spend in the billions, spend in the millions and be okay with it. But understand your station. There are friends who I don't go hang out with on a regular basis because they are balling on a different level than I am. I don't go and take that trip down to the Dry Tortugas with them because I can't afford that airfare. Or I don't go and spend that $200 on that bottle of Moet and Chandon Rosé at the club that I can buy for $65 at the store. I don't ball in certain circles because I can't afford it. That's being an adult. That's not anything else. It's not being cheap. It's recognizing your situation. Some of these cheap owners in this league need to get out and make room for people who do want to ball. And if you can't ball in your DMA, move the damn team to a place that you can ball. And if Messi kicked open the door for that, and I've got to weather the Death Star for 2 years, amen. Let's do it.
And I think that that's part of the larger point is that the Moss brothers and Jorge _ Moss on the 280 character app and Chris Henderson and David Beckham, they're all in this line of, all right, next year and a half, 2 years, we're going to do it this way as we hopefully, possibly, probably, maybe get the chance to break ground on our stadium that we got approved to build, which is still too small in my opinion. But they have chosen to go that route. They have chosen to go Messi and friends, bring in the high-priced talent, figure out how to navigate the salary cap, bring in Messi on an NIL deal, try to figure out how you can keep Busquets happy, Jordi Alba happy, probably adding Luis Suarez and turning this into the Barca boys of the 2010s, which is cool. I get it. But now the onus is on the owners who want to try to do things that way and make a choice. You're going to be Philly. You're going to be Dallas. You're going to build through your academy system. You're going to do it that way. You're going to sell on and hopefully reinvest, which Dallas finally got the green light on in their own house to sit there and go, oh, maybe we should reinvest. And you bring in a guy like Alan Velasco. Philly, Dallas, that's their way. I get it. But, Nick, to your point, there are owners out there that want to kick the door in, be a grande, and be even more influential in their spending and their talent acquisition than they currently are. I think that Miami has just accelerated this process to where the front office in New York City has to make decisions and make them pretty quickly when it comes to DPs, caps, etc.
And I'll let Jared, I'm not trying to cap you here. Hold on one second. Let me just say this real quick. You go to Europe and you ask anyone in Europe about the cities that they want to visit. Atlanta's not on the list. Dallas is not on the list. St. Louis, not on the list. Cincinnati, not on the list. Miami, New York, Los Angeles. That is your terrible trio that people in Europe want to come visit, right? Because they see the music videos, they see how Miami's popping. It's a legendary club scene, beautiful people all over the place. They want to go. New York, it's New York, right? High energy, all in the media, all in the music. They want to go to New York. Los Angeles, bright lights, big cities, pretty ladies, biggest house, the biggest hill, the biggest side of town. They want to go. All of us who are not those three cities are going to have to pay more to get that top tier player here and not collecting talent in these three zones, right? Our three triplets. Mm-hmm. That's what MLS needs to understand. They're like, well, why can't you convince a player in Ligue 1 a top tier player in Liga or a top tier player in La Liga to come here. Well, we have to pay more than Miami, New York, or Los Angeles because they'll take a little bit of a discount because they can build their brand easier in those three cities, allegedly, until they get here. And then they realize, oh, hell, I can build my brand just as easily in Atlanta as I can anywhere else. But you have to convince them. And the way you convince them is with cash. And that's where MLS has to start freeing up the mid-tier cash to make things happen. Because as Miami's proving, you can get one player who seemingly possesses the force and two other players who are really stupid good. And you can do a lot of damage with that. You start adding in the U22s, oh my God, you're cooking with grease, gasoline, and propane. If MLS opens up that mid-tier money bracket, you've got double uranium action happening. All right, Jarrett, go.
Spending is going to be what it is, and you can expand it out. Some teams are still going to spend what they've got. They're going to spend within their own limits. You can expand it out however you want. You can put caps on it because, look, you've got a salary cap in baseball, but I don't see the A's spending a bunch of money. I don't see the Rockies spending a bunch of money. You don't see a number of teams doing that. And some of it is cyclical when the idea of you're going to go through a quote-unquote rebuild. But like, do you think the Rapids are going to go out there and start splashing tons and tons of money?
No.
No. Do you think Portland is going to go out there and splash tons and tons of money? Which, I mean, look, they're moving on from Gio, which feels like the end of an era. Portland might go out and make a quasi-big signing, but they're not going to go out there and probably not going to go out there and drop $10 million on somebody. They're going to drop a little bit less, and they're going to go for the right culture fit, which is fine. Vancouver's in the same damn boat, man. A lot of these clubs are not going to want to just go insane, and that's okay. You can still build successfully by not doing that. How the trick is how do you deal with Messi? Because the thing is, everyone has done this thing, and people have been very quick to jump on MLS teams about whether they're good or bad, about whether MLS is good or bad because of them giving up goals against Messi, as if he wasn't averaging a goal or goal plus assist a game when he was playing in Spain or France. But people have it in their heads already that, we're just going to make fun of the Americans. We're going to make fun of MLS. We're just going to go ahead and do that. Doesn't matter that he was doing this in Spain to La Liga teams. Doesn't matter that he was doing this in Champions League. Doesn't matter that he did it in France, Farmers League. We'll write that one off too, I guess. But people just they've already decided that that's where their brains are going to be, and once they have decided that, good luck getting them to change their minds.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Jared, I think you nailed it, man. And that is that, people Ronaldo is doing this in Saudi Arabia. It doesn't mean anything, and all these other they become so tribal about, there has to be the specific situation. It's not only Messi doesn't have to just do this against Real Madrid. He has to do it against Real Madrid when Mercury's in retrograde, the humidity's at 47.2%, and the dew point is 74 degrees. If it doesn't happen like that, then it's not valid. I'm sorry. The man won a World Cup in November. It's not like he, left the national team or, wasn't getting called up anymore or wasn't getting offers from top tier teams in Europe. The man made a choice. He is different. He said, I have $1 billion offer from Saudi Arabia. I'm not going to do it. I am not playing for anyone else but Barcelona. Barcelona's broke. Okay? I'm not going to England. Forget that. I don't need that in my life right now. So America, the Moss brothers, Apple, Adidas say, come on, brother, we got, you are not a businessman. You are a business, pause, man. Come here and we will make your life phenomenal. And he said, cool, let's do it. But I'm bringing along some of my friends. Bet. Okay, so that's happening now. People are aware that some of these other people besides Messi have won a World Cup, right? I mean, like, there's talent on that team.
Some dude named Almada.
I mean, like, I'm talking about Miami, right? So I mean, there's a Spaniard or two on there that have won
Alba, Jordan.
World Cups,
Yeah.
right?
Busquets.
So that doesn't get talked about. People don't talk about Busquets and Alba. They only Messi because he's this gravitational force. But I look against the Nashville game when Messi did that cut over from when he went right and then cut over to left. The ball was like completely enveloped by the defender's foot, and somehow Messi dematerialized that damn thing through it. I don't know how Messi does what he does. I don't. I've tried. I've watched, interviews with players from Serie A. I've read quotes where Nesta said the one player who broke him mentally was Messi, because he cleaned Messi out and he opens his eyes and Messi's already standing helping him up. He's like, what? I mean, you're talking about somebody who fundamentally is operating at a different level than anyone else. It reminds me of when Jordan went to the Wizards and they were like, all right, this old, yeah, he was the greatest, but he's old. He can't do it anymore. And Jordan took the backups and beat the starters with the backups. And when he took over ownership of the Hornets, one of the young bucks challenged Jordan. And Jordan said, I'll be right back. The owner, Michael Jordan, went in, came out, played the player one-on-one, and beat him. You're talking about someone who is just in a galactically different than everyone else, surrounded by two of his buddies who won World Cups, who won Champions Leagues, who played in every situation on earth and won, and U22s who have all the world to prove. They're trying to get over to Europe, and they're with three orchestrators, not just individual talents who race forward and score goals. Three orchestrators, Messi, Busquets, Alba, who are orchestrators. And I mean, that to me is the difference here. That's what people aren't talking about because they get so lost in this black and white mess, this binary logic. Look, when you have three orchestrators who are pointing out across the field, like, hey, okay, you 19-year-old, go here. You 21-year-old, go over here. You go here and wait, and I'm going to find you. And they go and they're like, how the hell is he going to find me? And the ball magically appears. And yes, you do have a Joseph Martinez who is finally healthy, mentally and physically. This is not a one-man show. And that's where we are now, is that we have to open our eyes as fans and watchers of this game and recognize the difference between what Miami's doing and what the talking heads say that Miami's doing. The talking heads will say it's the Messi show. The people who watch the game with open eyes will say, okay, it's three orchestrators and a former Golden Boot winning designated player who's just now getting back on his feet, and it's lightning in a bottle in Miami. So it's the guy's just damn different. And yeah, if you are a fan of another team and you really don't want this happening, it's gonna suck for 2 years. It just buckle up. It's gonna suck for 2 years. But go ahead, post Shooter.
Shooter says, look, everyone's team is dead. He's going to get 2 titles with the last place team.
Yes. Yeah, the last place team, he's going to get 2 titles. It's not just Messi, though. It's Messi, Busquets, Jordi Alba. If you put Busquets and Jordi Alba on almost any other team, The quality of play is jumping significantly. Add Messi to that equation, and it's like putting rocket boosters on a Honda Civic. I mean, that's do we all remember the Darwin Awards? Is that I'm old enough to remember the Darwin Awards.
Okay.
Whether they were truthful or not, some of the stories were just hilarious. Like, they have on some heavy cargo planes to make them operate on short runways. They have what they call JATO, which is jet assisted takeoff. They strap rocket engines onto these things and they fire them all at the same time. So if you put, and there's a story, again, I cannot say whether it's true or not, where somebody took like a Honda Civic or a Toyota Corolla and strapped JATO to them at like like one of these salt beds out in Nevada and lit them up, and the car just went airborne immediately. That's exactly what's happening in Miami. somebody took like an 84 Toyota Corolla and strapped JATO on it and just launched it at the league. It's a different animal. It's the boxer who got on steroids. It's Glass Joe got on steroids is what's happening now.
Glass Joe. Emilio says Miami disproves the narrative. The road teams can't win on the road. Teams with good players do better on the road. Teams with bad players do worse. Don't get that twisted.
Look, what we have is the thing that the league honestly has been building toward for a long time. And I think the fan bases never thought it was possible that Messi would want to come here. I think it's one of those situations where if one thing is different, like if Argentina does not play France in the final, Argentina plays, I don't know, if it's Argentina, England in the final, Messi is probably still at PSG right now. Because the ultras would not show up outside of his house in Paris with torches and smoke grenades and going absolutely nuts outside of his house. People forget Antonella's a part of this equation as well.
Mm-hmm.
So she has the kids in the house. The ultras are outside. They're going nuts. You're on TV. You're looking on the news, and Paris is already occupied by people going nuts because they're trying to, raise the retirement age by 6 months. So they're rioting in the streets and flipping cars. Antonella's like, yeah, this isn't happening. Me, the kids, we're out of here. And Messi's like, well, crap, okay, I guess we got to get out of here. I don't know. And then Saudi Arabia comes calling. All right. Well, Messi, if you read some of the stories, was hoping that Barcelona would pick up the phone. Hey, we found monopoly money. I don't know. Get to Barcelona, brother. Let's go. It never happened. So he made the best decision for him and his family and came to MLS. It was a perfect storm. Mm-hmm. Busquets comes. Jordi Alba comes. Miami keeps discovering money under the cushions. I don't know, but they somehow make it happen. The league has been wanting this to happen for God knows how long. Now, anywhere you go in the world, there's going to be a collared pink jersey mm-hmm. with the Inter Miami crest on it. You can go to Ghana and you're going to find an Inter Miami kit. You can go to Tierra del Fuego and you're going to find a pink Inter Miami kit. You can go to like Eastern Siberia and find a pink Inter Miami kit. Beijing, Ho Chi Minh, it doesn't matter. You're going to find Inter Miami kits all over the place now, which is exactly what the league wants. And we're going to have to deal with this for 2 years. So we either step up as a league and try to compete and go toe-to-toe with the best to do it, or we sit back and let them run the show. But it's going to take not only money, but permission to use the money to make it happen.
Yep.
That magical word, permission.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and because not having permission has gotten folks in trouble in the past.
Right. And if Ronaldo had been able to accept the word no, then he would probably be in Miami. He'd probably be in Los Angeles right now. And you would have Ronaldo versus Messi, and the league would be caught in the middle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there are things outside of your orbit that will affect outcomes. and everything fell perfectly for MLS to get Messi, Busquets, and Alba. One thing changes on that timeline, it's not happening. But we are stuck in the timeline we're stuck in, and so now it's freaking nuts. That yes, Emilio, the wooden spoon candidate is now looking at something like like just running wild. So it is yes, Rich, ha ha ha. But we are in a world now where the management is different in Miami, right? Tata Martino's running it.
Mm-hmm.
He has a relationship with Messi. He has a relationship with this league. He has a relationship with the striker. He has his finger on the pulse of what needs to be done to drag out games for an eventual W. But I don't think it's as hopeless as we all look, as it looks right now, because Miami has gone to how many penalty shootouts? Okay.
I think they're 5-0-3.
Okay. So there's 3 draws, right? That go to penalties. So Nashville goes to penalties. This game against Cincinnati went to penalties. And then Dallas went to penalties too, right?
Yep.
Okay. So they only got the W out of that because it was a win or penalty situation. In regular league play, that's a standard ass draw, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's not what they need to make the playoffs. They need wins. They must win out. They need other people to lose to get to the playoff line. So they're going to win Open Cup. Okay, so they're going to have a double this year, but they're not seeing the playoffs. I'm sorry. I don't think they're making the playoffs. And I'm happy to be wrong on this. It's not happening because these other games against Cincinnati, Dallas, and Nashville were draws that went to penalties. Playoffs is a different animal. If they make the playoffs, I buckle up. But I think that there are some draws in the future that will keep them from making the playoffs this year. Next year, I think they're going to win it all. If they stay healthy, they're winning it all.
And you've also got schedule compression that we talked about where Inter Miami is concerned, 5 matches in 16 days, in addition to whatever they've been paying attention to recently here. Let's see. News across the board, by the way. Niko Moreno is going to be joining us in about 15 minutes to go through his Thursday thought pattern. And from the Pacific perspective, we'll start with what we saw with Seattle and Atlanta, work our way forward. Pity Martinez back at River Plate. Very, very cool to see that. Let's see. Abby with a public service announcement. There is no supporters march from the tailgate lot this Saturday. Shalala and the Crouch will occur at the bridge outside gate 4. Be there by 6:40. Bookham Dano, aloha. And it is heat-based. Temperature expected to be 98. That does not include the heat indices or indexes, whatever the word is that you use. I use indices. That's just how it was. And Abby, you may be correct. It's the AMC Pacer or the Toyota Tercel that was the toy cars. Ricky says Miami has strapped the giant missile from Mario Kart from their last place position.
Great shout.
Yeah. Hutch says institutionalized mediocrity meets international stardom.
Yeah.
Not wrong.
Shooter. I love you, Shooter. I do. I think your name's amazing, by the way. Of course, Shooter says, of course, they're going to win in 24. Every team other than Miami should sell off all its talent and fold. Yeah. Look, it's hard because it's text to know if there's a massive sarcasm font there.
Shooter is also our resident pessimist.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that makes sense. I'm with you, Shooter. I understand. Look, it's going to. We need. There are moments in sports, like the Tyson, Tyson. God, what the fight in Tokyo? Good God, the fight. Buster Douglas. Yeah, Tyson Buster Douglas, where it looks like it's going to be a slaughter, guaranteed win. Right, Tyson. It was this. Tyson almost killed the pay-per-view game because the fight starts, the fight's over.
Mm-hmm.
Buster Douglas wrecked Tyson, took advantage of his situation, and wrecked him. There's another fight that goes sort of under the radar, and that is Muhammad Ali versus George Chuvalo. And so George Chuvalo was a boxer who was known for just being just tough, a tough guy. You could not hurt him. And Muhammad Ali takes to the fight and gets in the ring, and he's dancing and he's doing his whole Ali act. And Chuvalo gets inside and takes every punch Ali throws at him and keeps coming and keeps wailing away. And that night, the story goes that Ali left the arena peeing blood because Chuvalo had beat his kidneys up so bad. And Chuvalo, according to his own report, went out dancing with his wife. Okay? Like he took his wife out and went dancing. All right? A person sitting in the ring or sitting ringside that night was Sylvester Stallone, who based the movie Rocky off that fight. Right? We need big moments. We need upsets. There is a George Chuvalo for this Inter Miami team. For Miami, if they're Muhammad Ali, we need, all right, a smoking Joe Frazier, right? We need the Black Rocky. We need George Chuvalo. We need these fights where somebody can come in and when that swagger, when that dance happens, takes those 55 punches in a row and says, nope, this is not what you think it's going to be. This is the Thrilla in Manila. You know, like this, we need somebody to turn a match with Miami into the Thrilla in Manila, where a team says, I don't care if they're dragging our bodies off the field. They're going to know they've been in a fight by the end of it. That's what needs to happen. And so do I think Miami's winning in 24? Yes. But do I think that it's possible that we have a George Chuvalo or Joe Frazier who comes up and punches the champ in the mouth? Yes. It's completely possible. But somebody's got to step up and do it. You know, whether it's Atlanta, whether it's LAFC, whether it's the hell, Sporting Kansas City, who knows? But somebody's got to step up and do this. You know, but MLS is not, it's the parity in the league is here for a reason. If for any of us who grew up watching, knowing about the old NASL, they had all these teams. You had superstars who flocked to New York. You had a couple that went to DC. You had a bunch that went to LA, and everyone else was dealing with just jobbers, right? Guys. And the league folded because it became so top heavy. It was stupid. They have to have these roster rules in place because we're not trying to look, you know, we haven't had teams operational since 1899. You know, we've had teams operational since 95, 96, you know, whether in different leagues and came into MLS or whether they were, you know, in 2017, but you have to have a buffer in there to keep the league competitive across the board. And that's why we have to free up the middle roster cash. And we have to have a floor to get the yucks out of the game. Messi's going to be gone in 2 years, probably. Mm-hmm. Busquets may be gone maybe sooner than that. Who knows how long Jordi Alba's going to be here for? Miami looks like they're doing what the Marlins did, which is just stack talent, win, and just break the whole damn thing apart.
Yep. But
there's nothing saying that we can't have someone step up and be competitive. And you can't tell me it can't happen because FC Dallas proved that it can happen, and they don't spend a damn thing. Cincinnati, right? They stepped up and they punched Inter Miami in the mouth. Nashville, boring as hell, defensive as hell, pragmatic as hell, stepped up and punched Miami in the mouth. And it's going to take people, the ownership in the league, and Garber himself to look at these teams like Colorado, like Real Salt Lake, like Philly. Philly, to me, is the one that's the most egregious because you're in an incredibly large market. unbuckle the damn piggy bank and start spending. It's going to take people to have some damn will to step up and fight. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And Shooter reminds us of this, and this is what ticket reps are doing these days. The Revs season ticket reps sent a message telling people to buy tickets, season tickets, because they'll see Messi on turf in 24.
I don't blame any sales rep for saying stuff like that. And I'll say, and it's not because it's Atlanta United. And this goes to the Revs. This goes to anyone else. I don't blame them, because when you are a sales rep, and for anyone who hasn't been in sales, it's its own weird world. Your sales manager comes and sits down with the team and says, here's your quota. You either make the quota or you get out. And the way that they do it is they say, okay, you have what's called a draw, right? You have your base pay, which is pretty low, and then you have your draw. So what the company's doing, the company is betting that you're going to make your quota. If you don't make your quota, they claw back that money that they gave you. Okay? You can watch your paycheck evaporate before your eyes. So what do? You do whatever it takes to make that number. And if you are in New England and you're trying to convince people from Boston to drive out to Foxborough, come see Messi ball out of control, baby. There's gonna be a pink blur dropping bombs on us. Let's go. Right? It's the same thing, man. You got to do whatever it takes to secure the transaction. And I hate it, but I've been on the draw. I've watched the close date for the month come up and been short. And you're like, you call somebody up like, I will sell you my kidney. Close the deal. It sucks, but yes, I know it's terrible. It's terrible. I don't blame them, but yes, you should not. Your pitch should not be, come watch Messi score on us.
No,
but I understand.
Let me run through news and notes of the morning before Niko joins us here in just a little bit. I'll get your thoughts of all the news topics. I'll kind of blow through them here really quickly. Apparently, according to both Third Degree Net and Tommy Scoops, Boa Vista hasn't paid FC Dallas a damn dime on Reggie Cannon's $3 million transfer fee. They were taken to court on it. They rendered a judgment. Boa Vista's like, yeah, okay, sure, we'll get to it. FC Dallas hasn't seen a damn dime on Reggie Cannon yet.
Not all business is good business. Just because something looks like it's going to be a great deal doesn't mean a damn thing until the money is deposited in the account. So,
yeah. From our friends at Goal.com, FIFA have announced they've opened disciplinary proceedings against Spanish FA President Luis Rubiales over the forced Jenny Hermoso kiss. The football administrator sparked outrage when he kissed the Spanish forward on the lips. This is Goals writing. During the awards ceremony, Hermoso later said she, quote, did not enjoy it. Rubiales remained defiant in his initial reaction, later apologized with pressure building on him. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez also slammed him for his actions and insisted apologies are not enough considering the magnitude of the incident. FIFA have now released a statement mentioning that the actions may have constituted violations of Article 13, paragraphs 1 and 2 of the FIFA disciplinary code. FIFA then said that they've informed Rubiales they're opening disciplinary proceedings against him based on the events that occurred during the final of the Women's World Cup. The events may constitute violations of Article 13, paragraphs 1 and 2. FIFA says they're only going to give further information on the disciplinary proceedings once they've issued a final decision. Quote, FIFA reiterates its unwavering commitment to respecting the integrity of all individuals and strongly condemns any behavior to the contrary. Hermoso revealed that FUTPRO, the Spanish Players Union, along with her agency, will defend her interests and will be the interlocutors on this matter. The RFEF, meaning the Spanish Football Fed, have also called for a General Assembly meeting tomorrow where they will decide their next course of action regarding the matter. Rubiales is in an ish load of trouble. Front Office Sports. FIFA is seeking 2027 Women's World Cup hosts and media partners. David Rumsey obviously says the U.S. is interested in hosting the World Cup in 27 after hosting the men in 26. Fox Sports could have competition for the media rights in 27. English language broadcasts of the Women's World Cup averaged 669,000 viewers across Big FOX and FS1, down 60% from 2019, and the smallest audience for the event since 2007 in China. 14 hours difference will do that. It is right now in 2027, the U.S., Brazil, South Africa, and a potential joint bid from Belgium, the Netherlands, and Germany. Mexico is interested in co-hosting with the U.S. as it is for the 26 version. Formal bids due in December. FIFA would like to pick a host by May of 2024. Makes entirely too much sense that it would end up being here in this hemisphere, considering what happened in 26. MLS Commissioner Don Garber has reaffirmed his belief that Leagues Cup should only feature in the United States, not in Mexico. However, he did not cite the new stadia in the country or the fact that more American teams are in the competition. This is from our friends at World Soccer Talk. Instead, his principal reason for keeping the tournament in the U.S. is because MLS clubs outperformed Liga MX clubs. Inter Miami goes on their run. Go ahead.
That's garbage. I'm sorry. That's garbage. Iron sharpens iron, and if you want, I gotta be careful how I say this. If you want real competition, you take these teams, these MLS teams, and you fly them to Guadalajara, you fly them to Mexico City, you fly them wherever, and you put them on the damn field in front of those fans. Those Liga MX fans have just as much of a right to watch these games play out in front of them as American fans do. It is the most wrestling heel move to have the entire circumstances of the match slanted so heavily into one side's favor, right? That to me, you can't ask a Liga MX team to go on the road for 3 weeks and expect them to perform at their best, and then sit there and gloat and dance and parade around of we are so much better than Liga MX after they've been on the road away from their families for 3 weeks. Show me, like, if you're such a champion, if you're the big man, drop the bat, drop the lead pipe, drop the knife. I'm gonna put my hands up, you put your hands up. I'm on some big old man energy right now. Put my hands up, put your hands up. Let's go knuck to knuck, and we'll see who the man is at the end of it. But if you're gonna sit here and club me with a lead pipe when all I have are empty hands, you're not telling me anything. You're not telling me that you're better than me. You're not telling me that you have the capabilities to beat me in a straight up fight. Spread this around. Take Leagues Cup, and because real champions say, we'll show up at your doorstep. When Brazil was at the height of its power, it would show up anywhere to play. Anywhere. We'll show up anywhere and play. We don't care. We'll run you off the field. And it's that anytime, anywhere energy. USC did it for a while. Everybody said it. USC couldn't survive in the SEC. They went and played Arkansas when Arkansas was averaging 400 yards a game on the ground and ran them off the field. Anytime, any place energy. And I respect the hell out of USC for doing that. Put your money where your mouth is. If your league is strong and your league is capable of standing toe-to-toe with just about anyone, and you want to compete in a Club World Cup and showcase that you belong, take your show on the road. I'm sorry. I think it's absurd to sit there and go, well, we've proven that. You haven't proven anything. You haven't proven anything because everything was completely slanted in your favor. This is like prime wrestling heel energy, man.
See,
anytime, anywhere. That's it. That's the measure.
Yeah, this is what happens when Nick hasn't been on the show in a while. He comes in and he's coming in with all the heavyweight stuff. A couple of other things really quickly. Chelsea confirmed David Washington joined from Santos on a 7+1. Deal's worth €20 million. Al Nasser confirmed Aymeric Laporte has joined. I'm still not watching anything having to do with the Saudi Pro League. Dharma Sheth at Sky says Monaco is very close to an agreement on a fee with Arsenal for Ferrer and Balogun. Formal offer to follow ahead of discussing payment terms. Personal terms agreed in principle. Balogun, 21 goals, 34 starts with Reims last season. The fee was around $50 million. Also, Mauricio Pochettino, in discussions about Romelu Lukaku, said that they still have, they're still looking for a home for him. Pochettino also confirms Caicedo's in line to start against Luton on Friday, but Romeo Lavia needs more time. Moises is ready to start. He continued that conversation. Lavia, needs a few weeks to be ready to be involved, catching up. Looks like Atlanta United note, Jamal Chiade is still in Senegal. Saba was at practice yesterday. And yeah, Ricky, USC also lost to Tulane. That's what happens when you come this side of the Mississippi to do things. So, we got all that, Nick.
But still, I respect the energy, though. They could have just stayed in the Pac-12 and been like, we're the best, beating up on Oregon State. Instead, they said, no, okay, who wants to play us? Who wants to put us on the schedule? Mm-hmm. And Tulane stepped up and said, yeah, okay, we will. Come on. And what happened?
Yes, exactly. What happened is you get the backhand. Bam brought this up this morning. Adelaide's Coopers Stadium, fearing fan violence, is banning Melbourne Victory fans from A-League's men's matches against Adelaide United. Adelaide venue management, operators of Coopers Stadium in Hindmarsh, says past matches between the clubs have been marred by violent and riotous behavior. Adelaide venue management chief exec Anthony Kirchner said he met last March with police, Adelaide United, and A-League's managers, Australian professional leagues. Kirchner said in a statement, security footage was presented to the APL and Adelaide United, highlighting our concerns, and we requested that the APL provide us with further tangible initiatives to support improved safety at these high-risk fixtures, despite the already far-reaching risk management strategies implemented. Visits from Victory games added extraordinary additional venue security and police resources, he said. Sadly, the APL did not respond and has ignored our concerns. And BAM is saying Victory next due to play at the stadium on March 9 next year. BAM is saying that I may or may not have been kicked out of that stadium. So it was twofold that BAM brought that information to the floor this morning. He did it as a public service, Nick, and he did it to explain his own first-person accounts.
Hey, that's what happens. Sometimes it's hard to be a journalist on the ground and report the facts as you see them. Yes. And BAM was simply, it sounds to me, is BAM's international unofficial lawyer.
Yes.
That BAM was simply in a place trying to ascertain the facts on the ground. And when he was accosted by these ruffians, and felt the need to appropriately and adequately defend himself against yon ruffians.
Yes.
So, I salute BAM for his stance on taking care of himself and those around him.
You're just you're being BAM's advocate. I think that's
indeed.
Your name is Nick Alifi, and you are the advocate for our friend BAM, as you should be. It is a half hour to go here on a Thursday, which means one thing. And it is where we go to the West Coast to get the Pacific perspective. Say that 10 times fast. And we bring in this gentleman, who I think is probably on his second cup of coffee. It is Nico, it is Nick, and it is John for Thursday Thoughts. How many cups of coffee are you on right now, Nico?
Second one, and it's completely gone. So no cup in hand, but feeling real good, real energetic. Walked my dog early just for you, John, making sure that I was here semi on time and ready to talk Open Cup, MLS, whatever you want, man.
All right, so we'll start with Open Cup, we'll start with Open Cup. Last night was, we've been joking about it for most of the show this morning. There is a writer's strike down in Los Angeles, And it's like you're trying to figure out, okay, what's the script here? These shows still have to be produced. What's the script? And we've been joking about it. But Nick has made the point this morning is that you have to defend for 90 minutes and then some against Inter Messi CF. And we saw it again last night.
Absolutely, man. What have I said about fried chicken that I haven't said about Inter Miami? It's all the same. I know I shouldn't have it. I know I shouldn't like it. It ain't good for my health, but man, I love it. And I just gotta have another piece every single time. And that's what I see from Inter Miami, man. I know that I have my doubts. I know that there's all kinds of stuff that I said previously about Sergio and everybody else coming that was not named Lionel Messi. But it's been a group effort, man, and it's been fantastic. And yesterday, once again, just like they did against Dallas, just like they somewhat did against Nashville, they were forced into a really tough game. In this one, once again, like they did in Dallas, they had to come back from a deficit, and they just seem to believe they're in every single game. And for Inter Miami, as long as the best in the planet is in their team, set pieces will forever be their lifeline. And that's undeniable. And if you give Lionel Messi a set piece, he gonna hurt you. He might not be in the first one, might not be in the second one, but he gonna hurt you. So whether it's a corner kick, whether it's a free kick, whatever, and that's what happened in this one. Cincinnati lay off the gas. They thought they had it. It was 2-0, and I get it. I understand that maybe you're thinking about MLS, but that's Lionel Messi in that field. You know what they've done all Leagues Cup. You can just take off your DPs. You can lay off the gas and then try to figure out what to do when in the 90-plus minute, Leo Messi, in all his geniusness, finds Campana with a beautiful ball inside the box, and Campana puts it away, and now you're scratching your head, figuring out what you're going to do with what you have on the field. But again, I think there's an unfair narrative, and I am all about fairness, regardless of what it is. I have my own thoughts and whatever, and I know what to say I was wrong. People are saying that this is just Messi. It's not, man. This was Kremasky having a fantastic game. Calendar has been unbelievable. Yes, 3 goals. He gave up good goals. Nothing he could do. But he still came up in big moments, was great in PKs. Kremasky's been great. Taylor's been great. The defense been okay. They've held up. They've really adapted to what Sergio, Alba, and Messi want to do with the ball. Tata, of course, we can't let Tata off the hook on that philosophy that he has. But it's just been fun to watch, man. So they push it into overtime, then into PKs, and it's history. They're in another final.
Nick, go for it. There we go. Nick,
there we go. Yeah, well, I've been muted. I wasn't aware that I've been muted.
Unmute, hit the button. Go for it.
Okay, Niko, my belief in how to defend Inter Miami is that you really, at the half line, you use where you set up your block, because I don't think they have anyone who's going to burn you in a foot race. Joseph Martinez, even though he's back healthy mentally and physically, I don't think that he's smoking most defenders in a foot race these days. I just don't think you can defend anywhere near the 18, because if as you said, when the free kicks happen, eventually he's going to hurt you, right? I mean, but at the same time, I look at 3 draws against teams that are not stellar teams, like where they have like superstars front to back. You know, when you have Dallas, who said, okay, we're going to turn this thing into a boat race, made it really competitive, couldn't finish it out at the end, goes to penalties. Same thing with Cincinnati. You know, it was Nashville played differently, but pressed early, defended, took it to penalties. In regular season play, those are draws, which is not what Miami needs. What do you think the chances are for Miami to make the playoffs this year, crawling all the way from the cellar?
Ooh, that's a tough one, man, because I've been not betting against Messi, but I've been thinking there's no way they're going to win this game. There's no way they're going to beat Philly. I don't know. Nashville might have their number. Oh, you know what? Cincinnati, Open Cup, they ain't going to do it. Been wrong all 3 times. So, man, it seems like he's almost mathematically not there for them. And the only reason why I once again doubt him, and I'm going to kick myself in the behind for this one, but I don't believe it's physically possible for this same group of players that have been getting all of these wins and being as successful as they have to continue to get those miles. Talking about Messi, talking about Sergio, talking about Alba. I know they're getting some really good players back. Gregory should be 100% back. Mota was already back. Obviously, they have 3 stellar South American prospects that can undeniably help out this team. But I'm going to say that they're going to fall just short of the playoffs because I'm guessing Messi's going to need to rest sometime. Those wheels of the bus are going to fall off if they don't. So maybe I'm wrong saying this against the Marchand, the phenom, the walking god of soccer at the moment in MLS, but I just don't see it. I really don't know how these players are going to continue to give this much. They already look tired after 70 minutes yesterday. They look beat, including Messi. But ain't nobody getting Messi off that field with a deficit. I mean, he gonna be in there, right? He gonna turn that hat and pull a rabbit, and so he did. So I believe that it's just gonna be too much. They focused on 2 big tournaments, 2 global aspects. One was internationally. One is the oldest tournament, the one that not just important because of the history, but one where all you have to do was win 2 games, right? So if all I have to do is win 2 games, I'm gonna put all my chips in that basket, right? So I think they did that. But now with MLS, it's already far away. We've already done our job. Everybody's talking Messi. Let's just reel it in a little bit. Let's just make sure that we don't overdo it and kill the goose or the golden eggs.
And at the same time, I mean, I think the first evidence of that'll be this weekend against Red Bulls. And we've talked about schedule compression. We've gone over the schedule here in the show. And with every single match that has happened, we've adjusted it and sat there and said, okay, this, and this. You figure they're going to go full bore lineup here, which means they're going to have to adjust here. And I think that the lineup this weekend against Red Bulls at RBA in beautiful Harrison, New Jersey, on the banks of the river, might be the first chance where you see a lot of names maybe go 45, maybe come in and give you 30 on the back end, but you're going to see a lot of the young guys like Kremoski and Allen and all of those folks. They would be the ones that are going to be getting the big minutes in this one. And there might be some folks in Harrison, New Jersey, who got tickets that might be disappointed. I know they're going to go anticipating something, and you'll see Messi doing toe touchies and drills and rondos and things. You may not get the full complement of Messi and friends this weekend.
Yeah, 100% believe that. I think that there is no chance in the planet that they're not going to rotate this squad. And there is plenty of talent, and Gomez, Aviles, and Facundo Farias are going to be in there. So yes, you have pick your poison at the end of the day. You're going to get some guys in and out of the lineup. I could definitely see Allen being in there. So for sure, there is no doubt in my mind that you are not going to see a full starting 11. Not what you've been seeing in Open Cup against the New York Red Bulls.
Nick, go for it. What else is on your mind?
I think it's going to resemble something more like, when Arsenal or Chelsea come over here for one of these preseason games where you'll see the stars for like 20 minutes and then they're going to sub them out. I just don't see – I think they'll bring them on for 20, 25 minutes, hopefully with the idea that Messi, scores 2, and then they take him out and just play all-out defense for the rest of the game, trying to get whatever points they can. And it's completely possible they may have, followed what, come to the same calculus that Niko has, which is it's almost mathematically impossible to make the playoffs. So let's focus on Open Cup and, we'll show up, we'll play a little bit, and then we just get out of Dodge healthy as we can.
Niko, let me go to the other side of this equation. I don't think we've seen or we've said or given enough credit to Ben Olsen with the job that he's done this year in Houston to get to this championship game in a month's time? I mean, yes, you've got new ownership. He comes in, year number one. You get Ache, you get Bassi doing, breaking Kubo Torres's records. Is it how would you characterize what Houston has been able to do? Has it been just because everybody else is focused on shiny objects? We've kind of let Houston just kind of do their thing, and then we're surprised at this and go, oh, damn, there's Ben Olsen in Houston. When you look at the Dynamo this year, what do you think?
I'll get more into details on the Houston Dynamo when we do green light, red light. But I will talk about Olsen. I think you're absolutely right. I think that because of his profile, because of what he's done in the past, who he is as a football manager, we've kind of put that aside and said, hey, you know what? It's maybe just the players. We tend to look at the shinier object, way shinier object. And I'm not just talking about in Miami, but also the new toy in St. Louis and the Hollywood stars in LAFC. And we're not really seeing what Houston is really doing down there. And I think what he's done is made this team a lot more simple. They're vertical. They can stay in many games. I think he's done a really good job with Hector Herrera, which has blown my mind. The way that he's connected with these players is not something that I thought Olsen just had as a forte, and he's done it. Hector Herrera is playing the best soccer since he left Atletico Madrid, and he came here thinking he was gonna kick back and have some caramel apples and go to Disneyland, and then in the time off maybe play some soccer, and that was gonna be cool, and that wasn't the case. Okay, now you get a new coach. Things change. He gets him a lot more help. I think Arthur's done a great job of helping the defensive holding mid and having that dog that's doing a lot for you. So the way he's built this team around and the way he's used certain players, I think it all goes to Olsen. Quinones is a guy that just came on loan, gave him his chance. He wasn't perfect initially, would miss a lot of chances, a lot of decision-making problems in the final third, and he's grown game by game by game to the point that now he's going to be here with Houston. But now he's a solid piece, consistently making right decisions, scoring goals, cutting inside, hitting you from mid-range. So I think all of those things are because of what Olsen has done.
Nick, go for it.
Yeah, Olsen shocked me. I thought he was like the management version of Kaki. There was nothing ever, there's nothing ever, flashy with him. There was nothing ever exciting. It was kind of like mayo on a sandwich. Like, okay, I guess. I don't know. But what he's managed to do with Houston is shocking to me. And it just shows that him walking away for a little while, maybe figuring out who he was as a man and a manager, has worked wonders for him in his career. So now it's just to see how he can, step up and finish out the string. But can we imagine the shock, how like our brains will just explode all over the place if Ben Olsen, pleated khakis himself, is the man who dethrones the juggernaut of Inter Miami? Can we imagine how insane that's going to be?
It'd be ironic. It'd be ironic. And I can't wait to see Olsen right next to Tata, because Tata might seem like a very poised person and he looks like a guy that, wouldn't hurt a fly, but he's a fiery guy. Once things get a little bit heated, he's going to be in your face. And Olsen needs no help firing up, right? Mr. Yellow Card and suspensions, that's going to be fun to watch just on the benches, right? I mean, it's going to be interesting how that plays out. But yeah, I think you're right. It would be very ironic to see Olsen be the guy that, essentially ends the Cinderella story for this Miami Inter Miami CF. Honestly, another thing that I've been surprised and impressed, actually is the correct word for Olsen, is the decision making on players. Barrett's not your international, typically teams want a DP9 and all this stuff. He's just a battler. He's had a great season, but he's stuck with his guy. He's had Ivan Franco in the bench, which you would think, hey, that's your international guy. Give him more time. Nope. He's had his guys. He knows what they're doing for him. Everybody's bought in, so he's got depth on the bench. Was Sebastian Ferreira, the guy that was there before, completely said, hey, that's not my guy. I don't want him. I was thinking, man, that's a talented player, has not hurt him. So he's made the right decisions to build what he wants from guys that are going to execute what he wants on the field.
Before we get into a red light, yellow light, green light with you and Nick, I have to ask, considering that Atlanta United was in Seattle this past weekend, and you got to catch up with Mike and Jason first and foremost at Lumen. You got to see them. You got to catch up with Mike and Jason. Very, very cool there. Now that you've had a couple days to kind of step back from the loss by Seattle to Atlanta United, what are some of your thoughts?
Well, that was fun. Seeing Jason, got to talk to him for a bit. Him and his radio partner was awesome. I wish I would have looked at the photo that we took prior, because I just couldn't post it because my eyes were closed. It was all bad and stuff. We were trying to do this selfie situation, but it wasn't working. And yet we didn't get a really good picture, but we did take a picture. We made the attempt. It was fun to see them. The loss for Seattle was credit to Atlanta. I think Gonzalo Pineda planned out that game perfectly, the way he attacked the flanks, the way he went right at Nuhu. Mosquera had a fantastic game. Silva, he's good now. I can't wait to see him in 4 or 5 games. But Giakoumakis, that's the guy that my eye went to. And I just did a show on Monday where I was like, man, I've been talking about Atlanta for 4 or 5 minutes, and I've yet to talk about Almada. And that's obviously a guy that you need to talk to every time. But I mean, no disrespect to Almada, but my eyes went to the effort, the defense, the presence, the confidence. He was bullying the center backs for the Sounders, man. I mean, it was like, I'm a man. Yes, Jackson Reagan, you're 6'4" or whatever, but I'm 7'5". If you take in my experience and my Greekness, I mean, I don't know what it was, but he was just bullying. He took Nuhu's lunch, respect, pocket change, whatever you want, all game long, man. I mean, it was crazy to see. So, in all general senses, I got to give credit to Atlanta. And then I'll talk a little bit about what I think is wrong with the Sounders here in green light, red light. But the Sounders in that particular game got outplayed. Gonzo was very humble and told me that Seattle put him in trouble and dominated from 10 minutes. I didn't see that, Gonzo, but he's just such a great guy. He talked about Brian Smetzer being his mentor. He thinks he's the best in MLS, that, Brian's going to figure it out. And I think everybody in Seattle certainly hopes so. But Atlanta was just better all around.
All right. It is that time where we sit there and we take the tour of Major League Soccer, and we do it through the prism of a street light. Red light, yellow light, green light. For those that have never been a part of this segment, who've ever seen it or watched it, what we do, red light is someone who's in serious trouble. The hood is up, the engine's dropped, oil's all over the road, transmission needs to be fixed. Yellow light could be a team that is going from red light to green light, meaning there's room for improvement. There's still some caution out there in the intersection, but you could be going from red light to green, or you could be going the other way. You hear that noise, you hit your brakes in the brake pads and you hear that squeak, and you don't know if that's something that needs to be looked at. That's yellow light. Green light, basically, you're confident that yellow has popped up on the street light and you're sitting there going, man, I'm just going to punch it and go right through the intersection. You do that and everything's cool. We're going to do it with both Nick and Niko this week. And since Niko is the furthest away, Niko gets to determine how we do the stoplight. Where do you want to start first?
Let's start at red light, because it's a team that we haven't even touched on. So let's start with the red light. I know that I could sit here, John, and talk to you about Toronto have now won a game since May. They were coming in a 7-game streak without even scoring a goal. They scored some goals at the feet of Bernadeschi, and still managed to lose the game, but I'm not going to, because they've been the governor and president, or whatever you want to call it, of the red light group. So we're going to leave them alone. So we're going to stick with the Portland Timbers.
Okay.
They let go of Giovanni Savarese. It seems to be a total break of what the team had at one point with him. I get it. There were some locker room issues, some big locker room issues, to the point that players were trying to get transferred. There were, I'm told, many constant problems in the locker room between him and several players. And then results end up breaking that foundation of absolutely everything else. Obviously, players came out and said there was nothing wrong with the locker room and all of this. But whenever a coach gets bounced off 24 hours after, even if it is a 5-0 game where they look completely out of sorts and destroyed by Houston, I just don't know if everything that they brought in, because they brought in so much talent and they got all their guys. I mean, if I have a shopping list, they got at least half of the shopping list of what they needed, right? And still, this team looks like they can hold on to a game. I mean, Araujo is supposed to be this guy that's an international player that's supposed to come in and help your defense, and it's looked terrible. Juan David Mosquera, he's a guy that was an all-star. He's a guy that's a Colombia national team prospect, and he couldn't catch up to Brad Smith on a ball from one goal, Clark, all the way to your fullback. So I just don't know how much of this Timbers team can be salvaged by the interim head coach, because I think that they're going to have to switch tactics. They're going to have to adjust. They're going to have to figure out what they're going to do within that locker room. Even if you got a leader like Diego Chara, I just don't know if you have enough. They have a minus 12 goal differential. They're sitting at 12 in the West. I just see nothing but red all across for this team.
Nick, who's your red light this week?
I'm going to co-sign. To me, with Portland, you have an ownership group that's not exactly very popular, league-wide at the moment. That certainly plays into things. So, you're not going to get, any sort of goodwill or, there's no one here who's going to help Portland. If Portland's going to drown, the rest of the league's going to let them. They were with. That's one of the drawbacks whenever you have a manager for so long and you get to be known for that style of play, that the tactics that you see, the type of player that's brought in, it is all falling apart for Portland. They are going to have to go all the way down to bedrock to rebuild this thing, unless the interim manager can be some sort of miracle worker. And I don't know if there's a number of priests lining up with holy water to, the power of Christ compels you on this thing, but I don't see any way up for Portland at this point. And it's really sad to see, because they, for so long, Portland was a bit of a darling. They had the small stadium, intimate stadium in the middle of Portland. They had a great fan base. They had a phenomenal talent. And to watch where it goes from then to now, I think should show everyone around the league that, there are far worse things than having a bit of a rough patch, that there are far worse places you can be. And Portland, I think, exemplifies that at the moment.
All right, Nico, yellow light this week in whichever direction you're going, either red improving toward green or green drifting back toward the red.
I want to go green toward yellow. And that is going to be my yellow team, as much as it doesn't hurt to say it, but you got to be able to look at this Sounders team and realize that they've always been so resilient, but maybe that resiliency gas tank is at E at the moment. So I'm going to say that I'm moving Seattle from green to yellow. It's funny, we're talking about two giants of Cascadia, two giants of the Western Conference, both having issues. This Sounders team, in that Atlanta game, it wasn't just the tactics, it wasn't just the personnel, it was the body language, it was the lack of effort, it was the miscommunications, it was a team that seemed to have a will that was broken throughout that game. Yes, they still managed to get a couple of opportunities that could have tie that game just because they do have those players that can do that. But that inability to finish, that inability to create, that inability to defend, it all comes down to a serious problem in their gaps in the foundation of that squad. And Brian Smetzer needs to cement those and make sure that it doesn't crack. He told us yesterday that there is no issues, that the unity of the team is there. They all were very unified during the practice yesterday because of Stephen Cleveland, whose dad passed away, and they were all together. They gave him a round of applause. They were very supportive of their teammate, and I hope they use that. I hope they use that to begin to trend from yellow to green, because if this team continues to play so bleak with lack of effort, Nuhu was really, really bad there. Joe Pablo, miscommunications with Leo. I mean, all general senses. Niko, I thought was the one player that was giving you a lot and gets taken off the field as well. So I just think that right now, this Sounders team's issues are beyond the tactics. And that's why I put him in the yellow surface. And unless that gets taken care of, they're going to move into the red. So I do believe that Brian Smetzer has realized what he needs to do. There's going to be some rotations for this upcoming game because they have the Clásico against Portland. So it'll be interesting how that plays out and how certain players take it. But there's issues in Seattle. There's issues.
Nick, who's your yellow this week?
It's going to be Inter Miami. That's my yellow light at the moment, and that's just based on schedule alone. When you look at what they got to do, going to Red Bulls on the 26th, Nashville the 30th, LAFC crossing the country on September 3rd, and then they got to go. And then it's Sporting Kansas City. Then you have International, and then Atlanta. It is a tough haul, and you have older players. Injuries pop up out of nowhere and they linger. When you have somebody with a bionic knee like Joseph Martinez has, how much wear and tear. So far, Tata's been really great at getting him out around the 55th, 60th minute of games. Can they keep up this sort of juggernaut mentality that they have right now? And if with their first loss, how do they respond to that? That's going to be very interesting to see. That's why I have them on yellow for the moment.
All right. So then who's your green light, Niko? Who is surpassing all expectations and is on the climb for you this week?
Well, you know what? Again, I'm going to just mention a couple of things because we've talked about this squad, but, I could talk about Columbus and Diego Rossi and Cucho just looking like they've played forever together. Cucho's ability to just adapt to playing like a 10 or like a false 9, and how good that Columbus team looked, completely destroying Cincinnati in general senses. But I'm going to stick with Houston because they are a team that was in yellow, that was in the red at one point, that has trended upward, and that, quite honestly, we're seeing some players that are very likely going to be their last year in MLS. And I'm talking about Coco Carrasquilla, the Panamanian who's been so good this entire time with Houston, all the way from a beautiful backheel pass in that 5-0 game against Portland till yesterday, carrying the ball, conducting, defending, pushing, mid-range shots, getting a goal. I mean, this guy just puts the team on his shoulders. Hector Herrera is the creator. Hector Herrera is the leader. Hector Herrera is the guy that gives you confidence because of his quality. But Coco Carrasquilla is the motor, the engine, the force, the strength. And it's just been great to watch. And once again, you talk about a guy like Barrett, and he is doing all the things that he needs to do up top. Not worry about just scoring goals, but I'm going to make the right runs. I'm going to occupy the right spaces. I'm going to defend. I'm going to do exactly what my coach wants. Quiñones on the left side looked great all game long. This was a tough one for him. It was a tough one because they were not clinical in front of goal, and RSL got a goal back in the second half where it was closer for them to score the second, but they missed so many chances that they let RSL come back. And even then, in extra times, they're able to compose themselves, gather themselves, and win this game. So I got to give it to Houston, to Olsen, and to the rest of this very deep, very interesting Houston squad.
Nick, who's your green light?
My green light is going to be Atlanta United with Tristan Miyomba. He has been an absolute engine room. His well-timed tackles, distribution of the ball, attacking from different angles, his ability to break the lines. It's a completely different team with this man in the lineup and clicking on all cylinders. You had healthy Gigi. You saw what happened with that. You have Almada cooking. You have Saba, who has not even seen the field yet. You have Jean De Silva, who showed some really good things happening. If this team can gel, this is going to be a very, very dangerous squad going forward. If they can stay healthy, if they can, they can work in the new guys, this is going to be something that could be really, really fun to watch. I'm putting them at a green, and I'm also going to add in another green, and that is the staff who gets to play. The fans who get to watch on the Atlanta United's YouTube channel when the media game takes place, and we're going to watch all of these people cook us live. So fans, buckle up, get your insults ready, get your jokes ready. You guys have full green light because we dish it out every day. You get to dish it out back at us and tell us how terrible we are. And I'm giving you the complete green light to do it. Biggest house, biggest hill, biggest side of town is going to be the fans. You got the full green light, baby.
Oh, you're muted, John.
2:45 tomorrow on the Atlanta United YouTube channel. And it is the media versus Atlanta United. Nick and Jarrett are a part of this group. Mike and Jason, I think, are calling the match on the Atlanta United YouTube channel. So you get to see Nick and Jarrett and a lot of the media go up against Atlanta United, and that's going to be a hoot tomorrow. It is now time for the tease, sir, since we have gone through the intersection. What's going on with you and Pulso Sports and the soccer bar?
Well, that is hilarious. The Seattle media will be playing, not the Sounders, each other, which I'm glad. And I'm also glad that it's not being streamed, but that's going to be September 1st, Friday. So look for those pictures and funny clips then. But definitely happy it's not streamed, man. That's the last thing I want is anybody seeing Niko and being able to say, man, that's the guy that talks all this mess. Because I've had Brian mention that already once a couple of years back. Now, what's happening in Pulso, got a lot of stuff going on right now. Obviously, all of the interviews that we've had recently, Jackson Reagan yesterday talking about the loss, what it's going to take to get this team to the right direction. We're going to be having a couple of very special interviews here coming up with other stars across the nation. Is just kind of taking a little bit longer to get those ready to go. In Pulso, in Soccer Bar. Make sure that you guys check it out. We just had a fantastic show on Monday talking about all things Open Cup, all things MLS. We'll come back on Thursday, so check that out. Appreciate you guys having me on for sure. And hopefully I'll be back next week.
That point, yeah. I mean, you're locked in at 10:30, 7:30. Just depends on whether or not you have to take someone out for a walk or if they're demanding your presence for an early breakfast after you've completed your second cup of coffee. Full show today. Fantastic stuff. We got to cover all the news. We got to cover all the folks. Covered some dude named Messi and Open Cup. A lot of news going on. We'll keep an eye on all of that stuff, all the transfer stuff. A couple of housekeeping notes. Nick mentioned the soccer match tomorrow afternoon. Keep an eye out. Set your notifications for the Atlanta United YouTube channel. Remember, 1 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. It is your pre-tailgate kickoff. SDH at Reverb by Hard Rock. Be there from 1 to 2. Atlanta Auburn Club, Auburn, and the Atlanta UGA Club. They're supposed to be combative. I've heard that Auburn and Georgia don't like each other when it comes to college football. So they were going to be in attendance. We'll see how many of them can make it at 1 o'clock. We're trying to see if we can come up with some kind of a challenge. How many of the Atlanta UGA Club, how many of the Atlanta Auburn Club can be at Reverb and heckle each other and heckle us at 1 o'clock from 1 to 2. Then you have all your tailgating. Hydrate. The weather's going to be unbearably hot, but you can be in the air conditioning at Reverb by Hard Rock. You can hang out with us from 1 to 2. Niko, my friend, it's always fantastic to catch up with you, and we will catch up with you again next week.
Thank you for having me, guys.
All right, that is Niko Moreno. And so, Nick, it is time to send us home for yet another show. We've made it. Can you believe it?
Can't believe it. I am going to just let us get out of here by saying the following to the Atlanta United staff. Please make sure you have a large number of medical vehicles on standby because all of us media people run on coffee and processed meats. And we're going to be running around in like 98, 99 degree temperatures. And then not just that, but please tune in and watch us make clowns of ourselves. And feel free. If you see a bald Smurf running around, looking like he's just juiced up on like 15 shots of espresso, that's going to be me. So I'm doing nothing but Gatorade, Pedialyte, and espresso today as a prep, and I'm carb loading later.
Man. And to think that I'm going to be missing this. I will be watching on the stream, and it's going to be a hoot tomorrow afternoon. Let's see. I think that's the housekeeping, is to make sure that we get the tailgate at 1, media game tomorrow at 2:45 on the Atlanta United YouTube channel. I think that's it. Nick, send us home.
Until next time, everybody, please make an attempt to be kind to each other. The world's a really tough place. We don't need to help the harsh world by being harsh to each other. Be kind. Drink your coffee, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, and all that. Until next time, everybody, mucho euro, y'all.
What he said, end of the show. That means we get to do this. 9:05 tomorrow morning from Macon, because I'll be in a hotel room. See you then.